Welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and my co-host, who, inspired by Aston Villa's Zimbabwean midfielder Marvellous Nakamba, has changed his name to Luxurious Gledall. How are you doing today, Luxurious?
I'm feeling spiffing and marvellous.
Excellent. You know, sometimes you have a word that you know the word, but you never really checked out what it means. So at first, when I'd written that intro, I'd put you down as lugubrious Gledall, but that might have been a bit too close to home because that's someone with a sad or down demeanour. So after most of the sort of last few weeks of performances, that would have been a bit too on the nose, I think. But luxurious Gledall suits you to a T.
My mum always talks about the word, is it enervating? Enervating, but it's just a word that's kind of like that, and it sounds like it's invigorating, and it's actually the opposite. Actually sounds like something that actually drains you. So it's something along those lines. Anyway, I also, while we're talking about words, you know when you forget a word and you can't remember what it is? I've just remembered talismanic.
Oh, yes.
Which is a brilliant term as well, which I'll probably end up trying to use in this podcast as well at some point. But it's hilarious when you can't remember a word and you think, is it polemic? Is it...
Enervate is a word to make someone feel drained of energy or vitality.
But it sounds like the opposite.
It does. Well, I thought lugubrious, I sort of thought would be like a synonym for like suave, or, you know, I could sort of imagine lugubrious, kind of a lounge lizard guy, you know, a bit of a ladies' man, probably in a smoking jacket, cancelled by the Me Too movement. You know, that's what I imagine a lugubrious guy to be like. But apparently, no, that would be someone that would probably more likely stay at home and say awful things on the internet about somebody. So there you go. You learn. Speaking
of saying awful things about people on the internet, let's go straight into Different Gravy, episode 33. Here we
are. In terms of breaking news, nothing much this week, really. You know, some echoes of previous bits that we've covered. We sort of had the comment from Westwood saying that he understood the decision that was made and hadn't fallen out with anyone. Which I don't know where that leaves us really in this ongoing.
It's that was a really strange thing, you know, that whole kind of Twitter press release missive, kind of real plea for, you know, some
Please
kind
like
of
me.
concept and talking about protecting, you know, mental health and being aware and being concerned, which is it's just very interesting to kind of hear kind of come out. It's not that he doesn't have a point.
No,
not at all. I'm a little bit unsure about. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on, to be honest with you. I don't think.
Yeah. And the tenor
I don't know if we'll ever know the full truth. And I mean, obviously, with this, everything is purely just down to a series of opinions. And, you know, obviously, there's two sides to every story, and truth probably lies somewhere in the middle.
Luke, I've heard tell that there's three: your side, my side, and the truth. So there you go. But
Richard Miller, dressing room adjudicator. Judge Rich is now in session. All rise.
So we had the picture of two sort of screen grabs of text. And the first one was, you know, him sort of saying like, you know, there's lots of stuff online. I want to come out and just put some rumors to bed. And he's you know, he basically saying like, I'm too old to fall out with people. I understand the decision was made, and so we sort of shook hands on it. But then the second one is all about, it makes it sound very much like he's kind of finished at the club. You know, it's a kind of retrospective of 6 years at this wonderful club. I reflect on my were great. So that's weird from a guy that's got another year on his contract.
Yeah, and is that, you know, and again, you know, I really hate to kind of throw a kind of grain of sand of doubt in the entire machine of what's kind of been, of what's he's saying. I mean, it is very, I'm sure he has real feelings that are true and there within that kind of tweet and that kind of screen grabs release.
Yes.
But I kind of want to say, like, what do I want to say, Rich? Oh God, this is so difficult. Like that also. I mean, this is something that's put out to. There's a degree of also, hey, I want to speak my mind and get my words out and heed my words, people. Here's all the things I want to say. But there's also a degree of it being like PR and it being put out for a certain reason as well. And do you think that maybe that might be something along the lines of, hey, club, let's come to an agreement to mutually let me go
to the sunset,
terminate my contracts, let's rip it up.
Maybe, yeah. It's a strange one. I mean, and to be fair to Westwood, if it is a falling out with Monk has got a mouthpiece in the local press and the club's official channels that he basically goes unchallenged on sometimes twice a week in terms of pre-match comments and obviously the post-match comments as well. I don't know how expressly sort of Monk has actually talked about the issue because again this week, again, to muddy the water even further, there was some talk that maybe these guys were injured or Monk was sort of touching on that. It's just all very muddy, isn't it? And unfortunately the chances are we'll never find out exactly what's gone on.
I guess the interesting thing for me is, there's that as well. I remember when I was in your fair island of the United Kingdom, alongside you, me and you'd go to games, and I would, I was in Sheffield, my hometown, and living there before I decided to drop everything and move to Canada like I'm now. When I was there, I'd often just kind of really just absorb everything Wednesday related as much as I could. And I'd listen to things like Football Heaven. And it was interesting because I did remember times of like underneath, and the people who are involved there, people like Paul Walker, Seth Bennett and Andy Giddings, who seems to be still doing his life sentence on Football Heaven while the others have moved on. And, it was very apparent, and a lot of people would talk about how the fact that, like, they had relationships with the local managers, right?
Yeah.
And some of them seemed to go very well. And I remember in certain times, looking at this from a very Wednesday bias, but looking back, there were definitely probably some poorer relations with some managers above others and better relations with some managers above others. And I remember sometimes with some Wednesday managers, they came out and very directly kind of questioned some of the managers. And I don't think we get that anymore. I don't know if it's been a change in personnel or a change in kind of management or comments between, the club and the BBC. But it's interesting you bring that up because I'm thinking we haven't really had Monk challenged by the press.
I wonder if actually the local media is much more expendable than they were. It was easier to, if you didn't talk to the BBC 10 years ago, a lot of the fans just wouldn't hear from you or talk to the BBC or the other sort of local press. Whereas now I think with social media, the internet, a football club could never officially speak to another media outlet and they'd still be able to talk to the fans. And then the local media would just be left sort of picking up what they could from those scraps. So I do think they've had to sort of defer much more to, being pally with the managers and not challenging them. Same with the chair, because there was definitely times where under previous chairman there was some serious questions asked as well. We all remember Mandarich on his underwater phone on Football Heaven from time to time. We've not had to hear from Chinsiri in the same way, and we've also not been able to hear from Chinsiri in the same way. So, I just think the media landscape has shifted so much. We're never going to be in that position where they're going to feel able. They just feel too frightened, I think, to challenge things. Because it would be nice to have certain questions asked.
It would. And I mean, we're obviously just fans. And, I was thinking, and probably something is a big theme of any fan podcast is, and I thought about this in different industries that I've worked in. I worked for... I worked for one company in my kind of professional career where I kind of made the observation that basically there are a lot of people who are very close to a process and have seen a lot, so they know a lot. They feel like they know a lot. But ultimately, they're not the people who are directly involved. So in effect, they don't actually know as much as they think they do.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of relevant to us as fans, is that we think we have a right to be as close as we can to the dressing room, but obviously there's still a very big distance and things in between. I think it's just, especially right now, we're trying to think, what the hell is going wrong? What the hell is going wrong at the football club? And,
Sorry, go on.
Every fan will think this, and every fan will think this of a team that's struggling and doing badly. It's like, people are getting paid handsome wages. What is the point that's falling? What is the point that's not working? What is falling apart? So,
but I don't know that knowing the situation would make that any better. The problem at the moment is results. When you're winning.
Oh, yeah.
There's a thing like nobody talks about a manager losing the dressing room when their team's winning, but we all talk about it when they start to lose, and nobody talks about team spirit, particularly when a team's winning handsomely. But it's all the talk when they're in the middle of losing. So I sort of think more than anything at the moment our problem is just we're in terrible form. There's some questions beside that, but nothing chapter and verse.
I get that, because I think you've raised the point. You've raised the point pretty much last night on, when we were on Love Sport Radio. Monk may have some very good ideas, but the time to kind of manufacture that and give him the time to make that and to make those changes in the dressing room, we may never see, because we're not getting he's not getting the results to afford him the time. The thing I want to go back and say about last thing I want to say about Kieran Westwood. I was really surprised by the follow-up tweet in which he did a changed rendition of All Rise by Blue, him behind the piano. I thought that was very strange. What did you think of
that? That was very strange. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, 1 for the money and the free rides. It's 2 for the lies that you denied. All Rise.
Maybe that's just an audition. Maybe just take it at face value. He wants to replace Duncan from Blue.
I would like to see a boy band made up of goalkeepers. I really do. That's something I want to do. And maybe one of my after-match thoughts I'll just share now, just because it's kind of on point, was I enjoyed the footage at the end of the game, seeing Nicky Weaver greet Lee Camp. And that, I think they're both card-carrying members of the Greasy Goalkeeper Union.
Oh dear.
Goalkeeper. The subtitle is "Goalkeepers Who Enjoy Greasy Bacon Butty."
The Tubby Goalkeepers Club.
Exactly. Yeah. I'd love to write with it.
So your normal makeup of a boy band, you've got the cute one, kind of slightly asexual. I'm thinking maybe Joe Hart. I think you always need a wild card. So Stephen Bywater would be good for that. You never know what he's going to do next. Everyone's sat in their chairs and they're going to stand up at that bit when they reach the second chorus. Bywater, who knows what he's going to do? He might eat the chair.
I think even the press where it's like everyone's going like every week's like Bywater's going to go solo. And everyone else goes, this happens every week. Bywater's always going solo.
He's got that star quality.
He's that Robbie Williams type of wildcard, yeah.
Oh, dear. Right. We should talk about today's football match, shouldn't we?
I guess we should, yeah.
So, we pitched up St Andrews. What did you make of today's starting lineup, Luke?
I do also want to say about St Andrews. Do you ever sometimes think about golf? And then I think maybe actually if the players went out and played a round of crazy golf on the pitch at St Andrews, it'd be maybe the most exciting thing about Birmingham City Football Club, because I find them an atrociously depressing football club. Like I often talk about how the fact there's like, I think Katie Mellier sang there are 4 million football clubs in London, and what are there in the West Midlands? It feels like there's like 12, and Birmingham are just like the last of them. I'm like, what is the point? Seriously.
They're the sort of least storied, least glamorous, most depressing of a bunch of fairly unexciting clubs. Yeah. No, I share that. And actually, our midweek opponents this week, Charlton, are sort of in that group as well. Like, I hate Charlton, and I don't really know why. I think we had those couple of years where we were kind of bumping around the lower leagues and came up to the championship together. They were the better team, actually, really, out of the two of us for a long, long time. But yeah, just sort of, again, do they need to exist? Why do they exist? Isn't there
there's
enough?
There's some real Bo Bellends, aren't they, Rich?
Yeah. Yes. Anyway, we won't get on to Charlton now.
So anyway, sorry, Birmingham lineup. So despite the fact that they weren't playing, there weren't any tilting at windmills on the pitch at St Andrews. The Birmingham lineup. I've kind of recently been. I don't know whether sacking Monk is the right thing, but recently I've been maybe entertaining it a lot more than I haven't been entertaining it previously. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And kind of looking at this lineup, it's interesting because we can have like a big chat about formation, because this is, as listeners of the show will know, this is a big thing. I have a big Luke boner for, is talking about formations. And previously the interesting thing I kind of want to say was, and we can get into how this kind of panned out later in talking about the game. But I've said previously, when we've had this lack of attacking options, when we've had these real statuesque but not Statue of David type strikers in the fact that they're so immobile and win all roads, and I'm struggling. Who else do we have up front who's not very good? Nuyu, Big Atty, Nuyu, Big Dave. These players who just don't have any great mobility. It's far more promising to go with a 4-6-0 and have these combinate, because I don't see Forestieri as a striker. No. But I still looked at it today, and you mentioned this previously when we talked about this, when I said maybe we should do 4-6-0, and you said, yes, Luke, but the fans will never live it down. Because not having one recognised striker on the pitch is something that really it really baits the fan base.
Yeah, often seen as kind of waving white flag before a ball has been kicked.
The fans are cartoon mice, and this is a little delicious piece of stinky cheese on the mousetrap.
Yes.
Not seeing. So I still had that weird thing today of thinking that, it's interesting. I actually thought it's maybe, and I often thought this during the days of Jos Lukai. I actually made a comment that maybe I was actually kind of batting my eyes towards Jos Lukai's formation times after seeing some of the weird, savage dice rolls that that Gary Monk's been playing on the crap table or craps table of Sheffield Wednesday.
No, I think crap table is right.
Table is kind of right as well.
Craps is a dice game. Crap is Sheffield Wednesday at this point in time.
So it was the funny thing of basically saying, and we had 3 recognised strikers on the bench.
Yes, including part-time swimsuit model Josh Windass. It's just referring to an Athletic article where his previous boss at Accrington, Stanley, clearly has one of those big Luke boners for Josh Windass, and described him as having the body of a swimwear model, which, I can't wait to see it, Luke. Can you?
I can't wait to see it either. I can't wait to see when he's... I wonder if he's going to have this Jason Statham-like career, because Jason Statham started off as a swimmer, so maybe he'll be in the next Guy Ritchie film.
Josh Windass in Megalodon 2.
Anyway, so it's this weird double-edged sword of the fact that, I like playing. I almost feel like this Wednesday team, I think the thing that Monk recognizes and he wants to address, which I think is good, is the fact that the strikers that we typically have at the club are very static, and we need players who are going to move and create movement going forward. So I like seeing more kind of dynamic options up front, and maybe that means playing more kind of dynamic midfielders.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that I thought was good. But on the flip side, I think almost I would have been a lot happier if we'd sacrificed one of the front 3 or maybe one of the more forward 6 in this midfield for Wickham Nuyu. I think that'd probably make me much happier. It's just so weird with what we're doing on the pitch, and how we line up is just bizarre. I mean, hopefully at some point it's, I'm just in the vain hope that something's going to pay off. And in some respects, to spoil what happened today, it kind of did. We'll get on to that. Another thing was, I'm still I'm very much under the Rich Miller banner of basically I don't like shoving Iorfa to right back to accommodate Lees.
Yeah.
I really don't like. I don't understand why Monk is sticking with Lees at this stage, unless we get a centre back injury. So here's another interesting thing, actually. So Westwood and Hutchinson have been told to basically train with the under-23s, from what I understand. Also, David Bates.
Right.
David Bates, who we've seen once in a League Cup appearance. Was it away at Rotherham? I mean, I know it's a long journey to New York to go to Rotherham, but I didn't think he was that jet lagged still. So it's very strange. So the fact is basically like we don't really have any other options.
No.
Outside of that.
It's very.
I don't know. I did
argue today's most significant decision from Monk once we kicked off was that halftime substitution. Who came off for Morgan Fox? And who knows? I'm tempted to think once again, sort of hindsight 2020, if we'd made the opposite change, we probably would have won the game today. But we'll get to that. So the starting lineup, I was intrigued because, as you say, we've talked about you're sort of maybe even leaning towards a preference for just playing all midfielders and not bothering with a striker. Although that was prior to adding all those options up front, so it's a bit
So that's the
now,
I mean, that's the thing. 3 recognised strikers on the bench. I do want to say that bench. Whew.
Yes,
that is one hot bench.
Although,
I believe I'm getting the vapors, Rich.
I do declare.
Sorry, Rich.
It's okay. No, but like those cup benches, the tricky thing is you can only bring 3 of them on. Do you know what I mean? It's an exciting looking bench, but if we were in a position where we were bringing on all 3 of those striking options, that would probably mean that the game had gone terribly for us and we were sort of hounding after it to make something happen, which didn't happen. It sort of bafflingly didn't happen. But so to go through the game as it stood, so Forestieri was kind of playing that kind of false 9 role, and it felt like both wingers were really instructed to get as far forward as possible and really stretch out the Birmingham defence. And I think so. I've criticised Forestieri at times this season, and I think it's been justified. But I mean, he did about as well as you would think in terms of the aerial challenges. He got no change, and he was never going to, and we still played far too much straight down the middle. Yeah,
though I did think, maybe in his defence, I did like I quite enjoyed the bits where the ball would kind of come up and it'd bounce, and then it'd also have a little bit of sneaky kind of little hit check of the Birmingham play that kind of just puts them off and then kind of gets some time and space.
I think it's the best Forestieri has certainly from a start.
Oh yeah,
it's the best Forestieri has played for a long time, as long as I can remember. Really, to be honest, I thought his movement was really good, and he really made lots of space for. We saw Kieran Lee coming forward more. We saw Bannon coming forward more, and we saw both those wingers given lots of opportunities to get at their fullback. And so I think Forestieri's done the best job of a lone frontman since Fletcher got injured. I think it's the best anybody's done in that role. There were still bits that didn't quite work, and his yellow card was completely needless. But yeah, I thought just his movement really stretched them. Several times we nearly made them pay for just leaving him 1-on-1 with a defender as well. So that for me was one of the real highlights of the game. But immediately we were off to a terrible start, and it felt like this could easily have got way out of hand.
This was and I've just recognised something that's gonna indicate something a bit later on for me. This is some of the worst defending from a set piece I've seen for Sheffield Wednesday for quite some time.
Dreadful.
I think this is just the thing that just baffles me so much, that the thing that's frustrating me so much about Gary Monk's Sheffield Wednesday is I felt like Monk came in, and I felt that with Gary Monk we'd have someone who would be, blood, guts and thunder and back to basics.
Yeah.
And defensively, it's just completely all out the window. I don't know where that's gone. it's miraculous.
He's obsessed. Do you know one of the things? This is we sort of touched on this. We have touched on this several times, and actually, more often than not, it's worked well for us. But teams have figured out he's obsessed with having man-to-man marking. He loves having defenders assigned to a man and following them all over the pitch. So that's why you end up seeing, the right back in the left back spot, because he's following his winger there. And you see, I think Burner and Lee's were both so often pulled into the channels by a man that neither of them have got pace to recover and get in. But I think the reason we let so many balls come through the middle, and that has become a huge weakness for us, just playing a through ball through the middle is one of the best ways to get a chance against us now. But it's because we're so obsessed with following a man. So a little bit of movement just leaves a huge gap because nobody's actually defending a space. Nobody's holding a position. They're all obsessed with, holding on to somebody's coattails. And as I say, I think teams have started to play to it because you can overwhelm us. Just adding a third, fourth man in there because Bannon, because Lee, because other people, the midfielders are not following men. You're just going to get. They're going to be spaces. It's going to happen, and it's hurting us again and again. And the corner we nearly let in a goal from the first corner because they put in a rubbish corner that Kieran Lee nearly scored an own goal from immediately before they scored. So the writing was on the wall, but we didn't learn any lessons, and it was terrible defending from Murphy. Just kind of
it was
sticking a foot out.
But that's the funny thing. It's like, well, if at the set pieces, where is the man marking? Like, where is the man marking, and why is Murphy in the middle there?
Well, he's marking Delhi or whatever the little midfielder was called. They're all marking men. That's why nobody goes to the ball. What we should have is a free man in the middle or two to just attack the ball. But by everybody man marking, we sort of invite any bit of sort of clever movement in preparation leaves us very open. I mean, that ball should just not be landing where it does. It wasn't a good corner. It was slow and it dropped in the middle of our box. That something is wrong if that happens. But I think it's because everybody's picking up a man rather than going, hold on, I could head this clear and make life easier for everybody. And I think we did do that second half, actually. So a lot of their set pieces we dealt with much more easily second half.
So who is it who scored for Birmingham? Was it a Birmingham goal or was it an own goal?
It was an own goal. Murphy scored it because he was wrestling with his man and stuck his foot out and the ball bounced off his foot into the goal.
I don't know. It was just such an impeccably poor goal to concede.
Yeah.
Really, I cannot get my head around it. I really can't. I don't know how much more huffing and uffing and jeffing and ooshing and oosh and we are always very conscious of the fact that there's a lot of that within this podcast already. So anyway, the first goal was dire.
Bridge of size.
I'm staggered that this should be a hallmark of a Gary Monk side is that we defend. We defend well, and it's poor. It's just. How do we regress even further? How do we look to regress even further? How do we go further back to basics than this? The only thing I want to say is, and then maybe that's kind of preempting and looking at that back four, but I think definitely defensively, I think going forward, this was, a really good performance with the attacking play. But from a defensive perspective, we need square pegs and square holes.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is personnel in midfield because we can't.
You're saying defensively, or you're saying
defensively,
attacking?
Particularly defensively. Okay. I think we're asking. It's square pegs and round holes. We're asking players who don't naturally do much defending to do a lot of defending, and they're not doing. Whether that's, I think they're not particularly good at it. I think Bannon is poor defensively by and large. I mean, he makes the odd good slide tackle, but slide tackle should really be your last resort. I remember Xabi Alonso talking about how the program at Liverpool they'd sort of focus on a youngster, and probably a part of a lot of them would idolise Steven Gerrard coming through the ranks, but it would always be a midfielder, and he loves a tackle. And Xabi Alonso he was sort of interviewed in the Spanish press saying like, you should not be like tackling is the last resort. You should be able to take the ball without slide. A big tackle is things have gone wrong and you've had to sort of pull the parachute cord. It's not the first line of defense. Pressure and positioning and shape is how you defend. But we are left with Kieran Lee, who physically isn't up to the challenge of pressing and looks. Caveat here, Kieran Lee, I think, had one of his better games today, but he is remarkably unphysical. Like, he's lightweight, he gets brushed off the ball, he can't sort of tackle without fouling. He was there to add an extra number in midfield, and he just about did that in terms of being a body, but neither him or Bannon are doing a great job of pressing the ball, and it invites pressure onto us. Today, the weirdest thing for me was having Pelupessy man mark a 16-year-old. That was a really odd thing to witness.
The 16-year-old talking about is the supposed Wunderkid multi-million transfer fee. Man United batting their eyelashes at Jude Bellingham.
Jude Bellingham, yeah. But second half, he wasn't man-marked and did sweet FA. It was weird. I don't know whether it's the case of, Monkey's like, I've got to play Pelupessy because he's the only midfielder left. But it's like giving him...
That's it, I think, yeah.
Like an annoying sibling. He's being told to go play hide and seek or something to distract him. Give him a job. Yeah, I'm counting. Just keep hiding. Yeah. Weird. The defence was so strange today.
Do you wonder whether the last we'll see of Pelupessy is we'll kick a football into a well and time to go get it, and that will be the last we see.
I just think training is Monk going, how fast can you run over there? Pelupessy comes like, how fast was it? Oh, sorry, I didn't do the... I forgot to set my watch. Do you want to try it again?
You're making Pelupessy sound like... I can't believe I've only just made this connection in my brain. So I thank you for this conversation, Rich, that we've had this. But basically, you go down to the beach with your dog and you just cob a tennis ball, and he just tears after it.
Yeah, and you sometimes pretend to throw a tennis ball. Yes.
There's got to be a lot of fake kicks. That's probably just what they do in training. Is Bannon just winds up Pelupessy. Joey, go and fetch this, and then he just makes a kick, and then Joey runs off, and then him and Fletch titter like schoolgirls.
So I think again a feature was no real presence in midfield, which invites pressure onto us at the back, and it was one of the things I was watching. My Grotty stream today was courtesy of Blues TV, so I had Deli Adebola chiming in on events. Who is a Scouser. I didn't know that, but there you go.
That's really weird. I never thought that someone with that name would be from Liverpool.
But he'd even picked up from a kind of he kept talking about the studio. So I imagine Birmingham must have built their website when they were in the Premier League. So they've escaped the ills of iFollow. So they seem to have a studio where they preview the match ahead of time. So they'd been watching some clips of our defending, and he'd sort of said how noticeable it was, how little we pressure the ball. But weirdly, so we had this terrible start and really looked on the ropes, and it was pretty much all Birmingham. But 19 minutes in, Kieran Lee played a sort of blind pass that Bannon was able to salvage from putting Birmingham on the offensive, turned his man and slotted a absolutely beautiful shot away in the far corner, the right hand side of the goal.
It was lovely. It was a great finish. The funny thing was, he hit it. The positioning to strike that ball, both in the approach and also how where he positioned the ball, was just perfect. But the funny thing was, watching it back, you're like, I guess it was that well placed. It didn't need to, but it felt a little bit like it just rolled into the corner.
I nearly wrote down in my notes and then thought better of it, although I should have just done it. I nearly put, how on earth is Lee Camp still earning money as a footballer? Because I've never seen Lee Camp have a good game. I think he's terrible. But
do you think he's also, another one of my notes is, do you think that Lee Camp is Dawson's uncle?
Yes, may well be. Yeah, but the fully signed up member of the Greasy Goalkeepers Club. He's been involved in so many goalkeeping debacles and so many teams. Like he was in the Sunderland team that got like a record low number of points and things like that. Led in more goals than any other team in history and things. It's amazing he's still pulling a wage in at this level. But second half, he really earned his crust. We'll get to it in time, but fair play to Camp. He rolled back the years to some extent. So I put down this was full disclosure. The Blues TV commentary was as biased as it gets, and I was like a crazy person shouting at the television fairly often. But my sort of place that I was mentally maybe comes across in this note that I wrote down. Shock from Brum TV that scummy, awful Wednesday have somehow had the audacity to score against the second coming of the famous 1970s Dutch side. To quote Adebola, how dare these disgusting maggots lash out against the boot that is so comprehensively crushing them.
Did he really say that?
No, he didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
He did say la all the time because he's Scouse.
Because he's Scouse, of course.
So a lot of our defending just felt like it was last-ditch and erratic. Tom Lees was very, very lucky not to get a yellow card quite early on, but he made up for that later by just seemingly getting annoyed that Djukovic had run with the ball and he kicked him over and got a yellow card for no good reason in the middle of the day. So that was about 27 minutes. And then
just when I thought we'd kind of settled into the game and I thought that things would calm down for a bit, it really didn't.
Yes, yeah. Well, it kind of bobbled around on the edge of our box. We just seemed to be watching them pass it between players. And Lees was just jogging constant.
I mean, I'm
going to call him Juki because I can't say his name. And
I've got another take on that, Rich.
What's that, sorry?
I've got another take on that, Rich, because I think we kind of mythologize. Our defenders seem to mythologize any striker they come up against. So I'm going to call him.
He's the king amongst them.
I'm going to call him Lucas Jabberwocky, and he did Geyer and Gimbal in the wave right past Iorfa and our flat-footed centre-backs.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. But yeah, so
it was a great finish, but the question is, why did he get the chance to get there to finish though? And I couldn't believe Iorfa missing out on that. I just felt like Iorfa suddenly turned into a child or something. I imagine as a child, Iorfa was still giants, but it just seemed like Djukovic I don't understand why he just didn't, to use a term that seems to come up a lot, didn't lay a glove on him, But he was Lee's man, and Lee's never caught up with him. I mean, he's about as slow as Nuyu, and at no point was he winning that race, Tom Lees. So he was way, by the time he did his in this
slide, the ball was way past him.
I mean, in this mythologization, I think what also happened was from nowhere they heard the composition of Vangelis, and Jabberwocky did a real Chariots of Fire to just kind of ghost past everyone. It felt like it was in slow motion, didn't it? Really, I mean, it did mainly because Lucas Jabberwocky is slower than a week in jail, to use a great kind of Scottish expression.
But again, I thought Dawson probably should have done better. I thought he was badly positioned. I think it was a bit like Bannon's, it was a good finish into the corner, but he surely had a chance to save it if he hadn't sort of sold himself on the near post. I think he would have been in a much better spot to have a go at.
That's a good point, and that's probably, yeah. I agree with you there. There's probably a degree of a little bit of questionableness.
Yeah,
about his positioning. Yeah,
questionability.
Bounce back ability. And speaking of bounce back ability, we did.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, very quickly.
Very, very, very quickly. How many minutes was that again from the thing? That was 4 minutes later.
Yeah. So Harris sort of took the ball into the box, was juking a bit left and right. There was a question over a handball which I think would have been extremely harsh. And then Kieran Lee, as he's done other times this season, made the absolute most of a bit of contact in the box and won as a penalty.
It very much I did. I said penalty, probably was a penalty, but Lee did win it.
Yeah.
You know. And then
this is when Luke texted me to say anyone but Nando.
I did indeed. Memories of his powder puff penalty against his real Powerpuff Girl penalty against Huddersfield.
Yeah,
kind of came flooding back to I think every Wednesday. I think you know, if you did a pointless question or a Family Feud, Family Fortunes kind of question, we asked 100. We asked 100. Thanks for translating for both audiences. Yeah, I speak my transatlantic jibes here. We asked 100 Wednesdayites who is the one current Wednesday player they don't want taking a penalty. Top answer to win the car is Fernando Forestieri.
But he slotted away beautifully. Did a lovely job.
Nando had a pregnant pause before rolling the corner and then stuffing up his shirt. What was that about?
I don't.
Did he just want more contact with the ball? Was that it? Was he just he just want more possession? He's just getting his. Is he got a possession bonus? Is that it? Is that to get it up? Is that what's going on? It was very strange. Is he got another kid on the way?
Oh, maybe
a little Nandette, you know.
Little Nandette.
Little future Nandalorian, the new the new Disney Plus. He's having a baby Yoda. He is a bounty hunter though, isn't he? Is old Nando.
Oh, he is.
And maybe he's playing like he's going to get a bounty somewhere else, you know. Or maybe with Wednesday. I don't fucking know. I don't
Who
know.
knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
But so I think such a strange half of football. There wasn't too much incident between the us equalising and the end of the half. But it was a pretty bizarre half of football. The fact that Forestieri and Lees had both picked up yellows was a bit worrying for me, although that didn't turn into anything. But it was so strange that effectively we weren't pressuring the ball at all, which invited loads of pressure on our defence. And Birmingham went the other way in that they were doing really bad schoolboy pressing, and which was very easy for us to work our way around. And again, that was giving us lots of chances, lots of space to sort of play passes into. So it was really odd to see two teams take completely opposite approaches but have the same effect of basically looking terrible at the back because you weren't offering any protection to your defence. Oh dear, just having a little look. They did have one last chance, didn't they? The free kick.
They had two, actually, I'd say. In the 41st minute, we had a real let-off because they struck one just wide. I thought that was a let-off. And then the one in the 45th minute, my comment is, how the hell did Birmingham miss that one?
Yeah. It was a really good header in the side.
It was, yeah. And then, was it Pedersen?
Yes, Pedersen just kind of too cute, I think.
Yeah, but it was a good, was it the header back in from, was it Thomas?
Yeah, or was it Roberts? It was the guy that they would put on throw-ins, weirdly. So was
it Thomas or was it Roberts for the throw-ins? Or do they have multiple players who can just
No, it's Roberts. There's no Thomas.
Oh, okay. Sorry, it's that almost first name, second name that's kind of throwing me.
Yeah, so Roberts looked impossible to win a header against. You know, it's rare that Iorfa gets so comprehensively beaten in the air. And weirdly, the majority of the set pieces they had, although we were, true to form, giving away lots of free kicks, they had loads and loads of these throw-ins around our box. And he insisted on taking this monster who could not be beaten in the air and making him throw it to the penalty spot really slowly. And they got absolutely nothing out of any of those throw-ins. Completely bizarre.
Well, I thought it was still pretty... It was... I was thinking, because it was a real threat. And I mean, we haven't seen a lot better than our throw-ins, I'll be honest.
Well, yeah.
I mean, the days of if we had Rita Johnson back. So I was going to say, we need someone who can throw I did say Thomas, but obviously Roberts for Birmingham. Maybe we should bring back Roy Delap or Exodus Giagan back for our Frozman. And I want to say Rich, we need more Frozman, not Wednesday. Our Fro man.
Ah, beautiful. Well, I thought that okay. That's interesting because the Birmingham fans and the Birmingham commentary were getting frustrated at the lack of like anything happening from them, and I always just felt very safe because it was so slow. Because one of the things that Delap had was it was low and fast.
And it was flat.
Whereas these were
it was like a cross, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, they were bad. These were like bad crosses because there was one or two that were free headers, but they couldn't generate any power with them because they were having to do everything themselves. So effectively, we ended up letting them win the header, and Dawson very easily caught the tame effort afterwards. You're right; it was a threat that they got the ball into.
Yeah.
They got people on the end of it. So yes, technically a threat, and probably sort of statistically, if we're looking at expected goals, it's a chance. But
it's adding up there, right?
It didn't feel. What's that say? Yeah, it's adding up.
It's adding up there.
I never felt worried at any of them.
I don't know. I feel. What do I feel? I still feel it's better than a lot of our short, piffy throws, though, right? We never really do much with those things. We are pretty bad at throws.
I often think, when New Labour handed over to the coalition, famously they sort of left a little sticky note in the file to say that they'd spent all the money and good luck or whatever, which came back to haunt them in years gone by. But I think because it transcends all of that, we've had whole squad changes, whole manager changes, chairman changes. But I think one of the things that happens when you are handed the keys to the manager's office at Hillsborough is there's a secret compartment in the drawer, and it says, "This is what we do at throw-ins. Everybody hides behind their man. Don't give any options at all. And at the very best, what you can do is a kind of long one to a big man who probably nods it to one of their defenders. That's all you're allowed to do with throw-ins. It's the Wednesday."
So, but then I'd much rather, I don't know, maybe coming as Birmingham was a real callback to when we used to be quite aerial and used to have the players to kind of attack that and do damage. And
we had that little crab Sebastian as well, didn't we? Sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, Milan Mandaric was also under the sea, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, under the sea, I believe is how it's pronounced.
Under the sea.
But so a weird first half. We made changes at half time. 2 changes. My last little bits. So potential episode title, Rich. Blues Clue. As in maybe they gave us a clue, or maybe we don't have a clue. I don't know. I just like to think about. Like to use that term because it seemed funny. Gary Gardner, looking like some midfield dynamo and not some overpaid statue from his Wednesday loan spell, goes into a sprint and then somehow goes into the book for diving, apparently. Oh, it absolutely was a dive. 100% dive.
Really? I thought there was some strange elements in the record. I also thought Tom Lees was booked.
He lost the ball. He changed direction, lost the ball, and fell over. He was spot on, the referee. I was really pleased that he got that right because it was blatant. It was about the only blatant thing that Birmingham got punished for as well, which that's another thing to talk about.
What did Adebola say about that law? Did he think it was boss law?
They all said they both sort of said
really. That's interesting. That's quite funny. But then I thought it was This is the funny thing, and maybe a later comment because I don't think I can work it in probably. At the 83-minute mark, there was a shot of a beardy Birmingham troll calling Baz a wanker. Pot kettle. Hate ban, and yet they trade players freely across the West Midlands, as seen through Scott Hogan and Gary Gardner. They can fuck off. I fucking hate Birmingham.
They really do hate Bannon, though. That's he's. I don't know whether he's just kind of the face of Villa for a little while. They cannot stand. So I was really pleased that he managed to score. The little ginger face of Aston Villa.
I love the. I do want to say I love the. If Barry Bannon was in a Victorian kind of Jane Eyre novel, Count Barry Bannon entered the room. He had the face of Aston Villa. I like that. I do like that a lot. That's pretty good.
Oh dear. So,
but I thought we went to the first half. The end of the first half, I noted down. Fortunate to be drawing.
Yes, certainly. So we made 2 changes. We took Dominic Iorfa off and put on Captain Fox Morgan. Lovely to see him back. And
this is the funny thing that we talk about was that like we have such that defense bench is packed to the rafters with attacking vitamins and minerals.
Yes.
It isn't packed with any great defensive changes. The only one is Morgan Fox, and we've made one of them. We made 2 at half. I don't know. What did you think about the second half substitutions, Rich? Because I'm not sure.
I think the change of shape was very much needed. I thought it was good. I think we should have started with the team that came on at half time.
We should have, but I guess the problem was the fact that Fox,
how much
been away for a long time.
Yeah,
I don't understand with Monk because it's like there's a lot of stuff like, we've got systems to help these players come back who've been away. They'll play in the under 23s. They'll have a program for coming back. And yet Fox has been. How long has Fox been gone for?
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's a bit like Stained. It's been a while. And it's been a while since Fletcher's been back, and then both of them came back. I got worried at one point with Fletcher because he kind of there was one bit and he kind of went down, and I just thought to myself, that's it. I bet.
Yeah,
Fletcher's
I remember that. It was really a sort of clumsy fall. He's sort of between 2 men, wasn't he? From their side. So just to sort of answer the original question, I thought that bringing Fox on was good because it meant we were more balanced, and that paid dividends. Whether I would have put Iorfa in the middle, unless there's an injury. I don't see why you go for Tom Lees over Iorfa ever. But we that was the choice that was made. And I think Pelupessy had done absolutely nothing in the first half, so why not bring on some height and win some headers? I think they were both worth making. Half time obviously is quite early to do that, and it left us with limited options. I think bringing Fletcher on was a bad choice. I think that we really actually lost in the game from that. We should have kept pace up top, because I think what Forestieri was doing, sort of nibbling at them and chasing things down, Fletcher did not look anywhere near fit enough to do. And by the end, the fact that we had 2 slow big men
I know. Well, it
closing
completely
things down meant that they were able to just do what they liked from the back, and eventually we paid the price for it.
But here's the thing: was like, so the defensive institutions for me is like the attacking shape was good for me.
Mm-hmm.
So why? I don't understand why. Here's another kind of parallel between Gary Monk and Jos Luhukay now. They both really like the second half substitutions, don't they?
Yeah.
They love the halftime substitutions. Not second half, halftime substitutions.
But would you not agree that they were worthwhile in retrospect? Like, I thought we were...
Probably, but I don't...
With a better team second half.
Do you think it's probably going to foreshadow some kind of player ratings here? Wouldn't you have taken Lees off instead of Iorfa?
Absolutely.
So
100%.
why... I mean, they both had a pretty bad first half, I would say.
They did.
But I would say that Lees did shade it, in that horse race of mediocrity.
Oh, absolutely. And he had a yellow card.
And he had a yellow as well, which I was worried about, because I was worried that, I was actually thinking I kept thinking we're going to get a player sent off here.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it didn't happen. Bannon took that yellow in a second, and I was thinking, didn't he get a yellow earlier? But it wasn't, and then it kept seemingly... There's one where Fox got a yellow, and I thought, oh, that's Lees again, or whoever else was.
Yeah.
And apparently it was Fox. So we picked up a lot of yellow cards today.
Yeah.
But then we do, because we're a team that gives away a lot of needless free kicks.
Yes. Yeah.
We 15 fouls, and they only had 13 from Birmingham. It feels more. 5 yellow cards.
I think they were lucky not to get a couple of yellow cards, because I thought there was quite a lot of dual standards going on. So after we scored, So I think we had the best 10 minutes we had of the whole game, maybe the best 10 minutes we've had of 2020 at the start of the second half. I thought we looked like we had threats all the way across the front. They didn't really know what to do with Wickham, and his movement was still pretty clever, like Forestieri's. And eventually they got kind of so confused that their defending was terrible. Kieran Lee sort of poked a foot in as the ball landed on the ground, which brought the ball out to Forestieri, and Forestieri played a lovely little pass into Murphy, who finished brilliantly. Really good, strong finish. He took his time. I was worried he was going to let the chance slip by because he really sort of set himself before he took it. But it was a good goal, put us ahead. But after that, there was a foul on Murphy where it looked to me like Murphy was through on goal. We played a ball out from the back. It put Murphy one-on-one with the goalkeeper. He was sort of smacked in the head by their defender, and the guy wasn't given a yellow card. How's that not just as cynical as what Bannon did? In fact, it's worse because it was literally on the edge of their box. If Murphy had been allowed to take the ball down, it's a goal. There's no two, or it's a chance. No two ways about it. So I don't know how they didn't get a yellow card for that. And then when there was another bit where the Jabberwocky got fed up that Bannon tackled him and just hoofed him down. And again, I was like, is that worse than what Bannon did? It's exactly the same sort of foul. It's blatant. It stops us attacking. He had no intention of getting the ball. Why has he not got a yellow card for it? I do think it was. I don't think it was a bad refereeing performance, and I do think we were dirty and we made lots of stupid tackles. I think Lees didn't need to make the tackle where he got a yellow card. I think Bannon didn't need to make the tackle where he got a yellow card. I don't think there was any kind of good yellow cards or clever fouling that we did. But Birmingham should have had more than one yellow. It's crazy that the only yellow they got was for the diving of Gardner, because they were just as bad, just as dirty as us. Anyway,
two Gary Monk teams going at it. Can we talk about our third goal? Because that was just fantastic. I love the Kieran Lee bringing the ball down. That was such a lovely takedown, and then that was just an amazing slip in from Fernando Forestieri from Murphy, and then it was what a finish from Jacob Murphy. It was a real Jacob's cream cracker, and cream as it may be cream. Jacob's Cream Cracker is another potential episode title as well.
That was very good. Yes. That was very, very good from Murphy, and obviously made up for his own goal previously. We then made. So
then Fletcher came on, right?
Well, yeah, but that Murphy foul, the foul on Murphy happened between Fletcher coming on and our goal. And we had a full-on argument over who was going to take it, because Fernando Forestieri fancied it. Kadeem Harris really fancied it. Wickham really fancied it. But Barry Bannon took it and blasted the knees of the first man.
Plowed it into the wall.
Awful.
I was looking at that, especially from the camera angle. That kind of biases things, but I thought this is perfect for Fernando Forestieri
to be a right-footed player, absolutely.
Just to absolutely whip it into the corner, really.
Well, knowing how crap Camp is, by and large, if you get it on target, it will be a goal. And I thought Nando, this is his free kick. He loves to do that one where he blasts it into the corner from here.
And then I hated this, because I've even precluded it. I think like every Wednesday fan would. Was on the 73rd minute, Murphy should have done better with the one-on-one.
Of course.
And I said, gutting, hope that wasn't the chance. And
it was a terrible effort, wasn't it? He passed it to him.
Yeah.
He maybe had too long to think about it. He had the whole of their half to run free, but it was an awful, awful effort.
When you think it should have probably been...
Even if he passed it to Camp's left, it might have given Harris a chance to follow up. It was just woeful. So we brought Fletcher on. The next chance, all the chances that happened after that were breaks from the wingers. They didn't really have any part to play in anything that happened from that point on. 78th minute, Wickham had that amazing volley.
Yes, that was incredible. Just completely out of nowhere. Again, taking things down, from these kind of high balls in the top, and suddenly we're looking really good at this. And just from nowhere, just absolute swivel volley.
That was a tremendous save from Camp.
That was a really good save from Camp. That was
really good.
That was Camp earning his biscuits.
Yeah.
Maybe afterwards he could share a cream cracker with Jacob Murphy.
I'm just worried about who's.
But I mean, also from that, I mean, it was great. You would have thought that was in. I think it deserved to go in, really, because it was such a good volley. It was such a good hit. And, but I mean, at least we won a corner, which then went to nothing as well. Murphy's corners weren't particularly good today, which was a shame.
Yeah. I do think they are really big as well.
Yeah. Can also say from a little bit from that, which was interesting, because I mean, I think Birmingham, in the counter corner, they went short on one of them, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which was weird, because I think they should have just kept with that aerial quality, and the fact that we didn't seem quite as good at that, even though you basically debunked the long throw-ins from Roberts. They were doing well from set pieces, so I don't know why they did that, but maybe we should have done that ourselves. Maybe we should have gone short. Can I also say in regards to that, I was surprised that from the end of that corner, it went back up to our possession in our own half. And I'm I saw Morgan Fox. Shouldn't Fox Morgan be more forward for a corner?
Yeah, but then we're winning and time's running out, so...
Sure.
That's
just thinking that it's another
thing,
I would actually leave a different player, I'd leave a Harris or a Murphy back.
Yeah, but that is another Monk thing, is we go on 100% defensive footing so early in the game, just sort of asking for... Now, we did have some breaks with the pace, but the fact that those breaks worked meant that every Birmingham player was in our half, apart from the goalkeeper, because we just sat so deep. Continued to give away our silly fouls. They had a really good chance at 87 minutes. 90th minute, Dawson sort of had to come and punch something away, which he did do very well. And then the 91st minute, just a big hoof forward. The Jabberwock, Kalou Calais, not down for Hogan, and
that was a good finish from Hogan.
Birmingham's Beamish boy slotted it away beautifully. It's come full circle on the Jabberwocky, Luke. Yes, it was. Again, really poor defending from Palmer.
But the problem was Palmer?
Yeah,
I thought it was
Palmer
Lees.
Completely lost his man. No, well, Lees did what we always do when we play against the Jabberwocky, and just watched him win the header under no challenge whatsoever. But Hogan's run was completely unfettered, because he took Palmer completely by surprise by moving. Palmer was just so far behind after he moved inside. He never caught up, and he had a free shot because of that. But that, again, sorry, just to kind of, not to kind of go into minute detail, but Wickham being so slow on the closing down meant that their defender had all that time to play that ball forward. He let it roll across him, and he took his time and launched an absolute rocket forward. But I feel like if we'd put on De Cruz or kept on Forestieri, he would have had someone nibbling at him, someone nippling away at him, giving him purple nurples, and he wouldn't be able to settle enough to play that ball forward as well as he did. It's really hard to pick out a man 60 yards away when your nipple is being twisted to the point that it's bruised. I've always said that, Luke.
I know. I've been with you at games, Rich, and the people around me keep turning. I remember that one time someone just stood up and just said, "Could you stop talking about nipples? This is a family stand, sir. I ask you to leave."
But I'd argue if the whole stand had joined in with my chant of "twist the tit," we would have won that game. We would have won that game.
Of course.
It's lack of commitment that that's how movements fail like this. But yeah, my note towards the end there was playing two unfit big men the best option to keep a defence honest, and then unfortunately it came back to bite us on the bum.
I mean, one of them definitely, but I think that was the problem. Was I think the problem is we need both of them fit, really.
I know.
And that's the problem is I think Monk was trying to shoehorn that into the game plan. And I think that was the problem. Because, I mean...
And Fletcher coming on gives everybody a lift as well. That's...
It does. Even if he did nothing, he's still there. I get that. Because it's just coming back. I guess there's the interesting thing I want to talk about formation. Because I thought it was interesting you talk about some of the poor defensive work in midfield. But in terms of formation, in terms of getting forward, here's the thing that I think I know about Sheffield Wednesday right now. With a lack of kind of strikers who are performing, I think we really need, we need Bannon in a free.
Yeah.
Because We need the extra personnel to help him do his good work. I think in an ideal world, I'd have someone else other than Pelopessi in that defensive role.
Yeah.
Kieran Lee can be hot and cold. I thought he was really, really good today, so I like that. And another thing about Sheffield Wednesday in this kind of mentality, we need wingers, we need width. So we need I think we need both of them. So then in effect, we've got 5 men in midfield. So the question is, it was great to see Forestieri giving some real value in that kind of false nine, like you said, in the centre of the park. That was another one of the real positives today.
Yeah.
That we had for the game. So, but basically, we need like 5 midfielders on the pitch. So, attacking wise, it really works. Attacking wise, it really works with. I guess that was a weird thing, is that we did trade off that third player by taking. Taking Pelopessi off of Wickham, and it didn't harm us that badly, I want to say.
I think here's the thing, though. So you're right. I mean, formation's so important and numbers are so important. And I think Monk has been guilty too often of giving away huge portions of the pitch and also games. But today, the story, more than a story of being about formations, was we showed we were dangerous enough that Birmingham needed to respect us. And the difference in the second half was we frightened Birmingham into sitting back and defending. And we've not done that in enough games. We've looked too tame. We've looked too, you could give us the whole pitch and we'll never challenge you. We don't take our chances. We don't have the quality. But today we showed how much quality we have. I mean, in some ways, we've got an embarrassment of riches. Murphy's a really good winger when he plays well, and today was one of his best games for us. Harris is an absolute pain in the backside, even when he's not having a great game, and I think today wasn't one of his kind of top 10 performances, but he did enough to keep them honest and keep them pushed back. And I think Forestieri just was a pain all game. The defenders, although they didn't have an aerial bombardment, and you probably come off after playing Nuiu or Fletcher feeling pretty rough and sore as a defender from all the bashes and elbows and knees and things like that. It's not going to be that sort of performance for them, but they could never settle because he was always at it and you didn't know where he was going to pop up on the pitch and sort of pressure them in possession and things. So today, almost more than anything, it was pushing our quality, which used to be one of the features of Monk teams. Monk game plans was we focus on what we do well. I think since Christmas we've played the game we've been allowed to play by the opposition. And more often than not, they're not going to let us do that in a way that suits us. Whereas today we played well enough that second half Birmingham had to let us play a game that we wanted to play. And that was massively different. We can play 4-4-2 if we play this well, but we can't play 4-4-2 if we're going to be rubbish. I know that sounds in some ways it's kind of obvious, but it's this Monk thing of, we take the first half off or we give them the first hour and then play. We're not defensively good enough to do that. We can't keep it tight for the first 45. So he needs to learn that actually we need to play the game while we're seeing how it goes and planning for the second half. We still need to be playing an active role in the game. We've got the players to do it. We just need to keep doing it, because if we cower and play defensively and just try and hold a shape, we get pulled apart. We're not good enough. Dawson's not good enough. The centre-backs aren't good enough. Our full-backs aren't good enough. And the midfield is nowhere near good enough just to watch another team play.
Yeah.
And pulls them down. It's so strange. We should have been dead and buried at half time, and then second half you could argue that we should have won comfortably because we had really good chances.
I know, but that's the difficult thing I've kind of battled with this. They said on the commentary we had Rob O'Neill and Dom Howson doing the commentary today on my end of the home side of the feed, away further than you are to the action. Ho ho ho. And they were saying that we should have won in the second half. We should have put it to bed. And that was from the post-match comments I've seen from Monk kind of allude to that. But the problem I think I've always been dealing with if so much of this for Sheffield Wednesday this season is the question, should we be winning? Should we be feeling that we deserve to win? I'm like, well, yes, but you still, unfortunately, the crux of the matter is when you defend like this, you deserve nothing. You deserve very little.
Yeah.
And we could have even lost today. I mean, that's such a weird, crazy game. I said this prior to the podcast. We had a little chat about the game just before we kind of started recording. And the hilarious thing was, I think at about 2-2, Dom Howson said, "Oh, this is a real great advert for the championship." And I said to Rich, "What, two teams who can't defend?"
Yes.
Goals are one thing, but if it's for the expense of teams that can't defend for toffee, then I don't know. If you can't have your toffee, can you have your cream crackers? That's
yeah.
That's my belabored, tiresome, terrible analogy that I'm making on this Saturday.
For some reason, that's reminded me of the talkie bit from Another Brick in the Wall.
I don't know it, Rich. I'll be honest. Apart from teachers leaving kids alone and stuff,
So shall we get on to? I'm going to look it up, but I'll look it up whilst we're doing some player ratings. Shall we do some player ratings? We've not done them.
Yeah, we haven't done for a while because it's just been so bad. We just give everybody wholesale 5s or 6s. But it's a bit more variable today, so it's going to be an interesting chat. This Dawson, I've given a 6.5. He was not awful. I thought it was a good save from the header at 70th minute. Maybe I think it was a free header, which maybe looked from the positioning more kind of powerful than it did. But I thought it was still a good save. I'll give Mild Save Cammy a little thumbs up from that one. I don't think he was terrible today. I think it was the players in front of him, and his kicking was good. His kicking was good today. So I've gone for 6.5. What do you think, Rich?
I'm inclined to agree with 6.5. I think that's fair enough. He did come. He came and claimed things pretty well a couple of times again. I can always do with more of that, but I think he was commanding at times when he needed to be, and that was really good. So 6.5. Fair. We got it. Well, it's hard to know where to start, but technically starting at right back was Joey Pelupessy. So
what? Really?
Yeah, technically that's it. So supposedly we lined up with a 5 at the back, of Palmer at left wing back and Pelupessy at right wing.
I don't believe
3 in the middle, but it didn't play out like that because little Joey was chasing his crisp packet around, wasn't he?
He was indeed. He was really. Don't worry, Joey. One day you'll get there. So we're going to review Joey Pelupessy first because I don't think he's a defender. Can we not do that? That's
okay.
I disagree.
Think was playing right back then?
Iorfa.
He wasn't playing right back, but okay, let's do Iorfa.
What was he playing then? What do you think? It was a 3 at the back then? Like what?
Definitely, yeah. They played as a 3, a very disjointed, bad 3. But yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to think about that because that's just going to make me angry.
It was really weird. It was weird on paper, this lineup. It was weirder when it actually worked. Anyway, let's so let's go for Iorfa first then.
Iorfa had a bad day at the office. Unsure why he was taken off instead of Lees though. So this is the difficult thing. I hope that doesn't mean he's gone now because I don't like.
Oh,
I get nervous
disappeared
around.
like so many.
I get nervous with Monk. I don't know what he thinks about these players. He has some really interesting thoughts about 1 or 2 players at this football club, which just gives me kittens, I'll be honest. And I don't know why in our conversations, in talking about if I was a fan and I was interviewing him after the match, maybe it probably would mean that I'd get fired. But
yes.
I'd kind of be tempted to say, what are you seeing in Tom Lees right now?
Yeah.
Because I don't get it. I don't get what he continually sees. I don't.
Although, sorry, aside from the howling error, I thought Tom Lees was better second half than he was in the first half. I think undoubtedly
he was.
They are better.
That's a giant commentary about the defence, though.
Yeah.
It was much better in the second half.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at it for the simple fact. We conceded 2 goals in the first half and 1 in the second.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
That's better. That's better. This is hilarious. I'll get onto this later. I'm looking at who scored, and that's pissing me off as well. So it's who scored saying that Joey Pelopessi's a right back as well, because I'm gonna fucking go ballistic on someone, Rich.
He was so technically where he played was where Bellingham was, and Bellingham started on the left wing. Bellingham moved around all over the pitch.
But so he marked Bellingham, and
he just marked Bellingham. He didn't have any other. He didn't have a position on the pitch. He didn't have any other role. He just followed Bellingham around, and because he started.
So they're going for a 5-4-1,
which
is just madness.
Yeah, it was so weird.
Okay, let's give a token introduction to Joey Pelopessi. Let's give him a quick review now. We covered Iorfa. Did I give a mark to Iorfa?
We didn't give a mark, I don't think, yet.
I gave him a 6.
Yeah.
I think that's
not one of his better games. But then the whole defence was rubbish first.
Yeah, I know.
So do you want to do Pelopessi now?
I think it was alright. Yeah, well, I'd say I'd give him a 6.5.
Wow.
I thought he was alright. I didn't really understand. I don't know. It wasn't one of the more offensive ones. More offensive games I've seen from Joey Pelopessi. I don't know why he went off. I don't. Okay. Wow. Weird. This is it, right? Most of the time, I'm slagging him off to the high heavens, and you're defending him. We really play some good cop, bad cop on Joey Pelopessi. He's really not. He's not enjoying this questioning at all. He's really not enjoying this questioning.
Sometimes it's bad cop, crazy cop.
And that's right, and that's the funny thing. So right back Joey Pelopessi. See, this is another thing as well. I don't know. If we're going to play him right back, I'd rather see Hutchinson there.
Well, that is. I know.
I can't.
The story of Joey Pelopessi's life. His autobiography will be called "You Probably Wish This Was a Sam Hutchinson Book."
The opening line is, "I know, I'm disappointed as well." I was hoping I'd get to read about luscious Sam and his coiffure.
Okay, well,
I think really future star of The Gentleman, the next Gentleman 2, the Guy Ritchie sequel of with Sam Hutchinson playing a Cockney gangster role. Smoking a cigar and putting it out someone's face or something.
Beautiful, yeah. So okay. Well, I think in your amazing sort of face about turn, I'm going to go along with your 6.5 for Joey Pelopessi. I'm going to let it slide. But wow. I suppose he actively wasn't involved with any of the bad things, so that's something in his favour.
He was a mere spectator.
Yes, exactly. A bystander.
Give a witness account, and he'll probably say something like, "It was bad." So I just want to. Oh no, let's go on to it later. Sorry, let's carry on. Player ratings. What are we doing next? Who's next?
James Lees.
Thomas James Lees. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Oh, James. I thought you said Thomas Jane, like the American actor.
No, I didn't. I said Thomas James Lees.
I think Thomas Jane would be better.
Yeah.
Centre back.
Probably be a better centre back.
Yeah.
This point in time.
Because he played the Punisher, and he would do better at punishing the ball. Yes. And Thomas Jane, I think, was he in Hung as well? Maybe.
He might slay the Jabberwock.
And at least should be hung.
Oh.
He gets a 5 from me. That's the thing. He was. So I actually kind of made his notes after Julian Berner. So I said that he improved himself quite a bit. But he was very bad in that first half.
He did improve himself, and then he was involved in the goal in such a negative way. So I mean, even at his best,
this is hilarious. I've really enjoyed doing this podcast today. For the first time in quite a while, it's given a smile on my face. We've made a few jokes. We've had a few laughs. We scored 3 goals away from home. I mean, we also conceded 3. This is the story of the game. And his second half was so much better. And then he fucks up massively for the third goal. The thing that I want to say was, like, I'm enjoying myself. I forgot that. Like, I thought when we got to player ratings, I'm just going to go ballistic at Tom Lees because he was garbage. Get him out of the team.
Yeah.
But I'm in a good mood now, so how can I be angry when I'm happy? Oh, it's difficult. difficult.
It's
a difficult game to kind of look at and think about because.
But for me now,
anyway,
how many times does it need to be shown that the best option in a 2 is Iorfa and Burner? How many times does it need to be?
I don't know. And then how many, like the midfield.
How many roads must
the game away again. How many roads must a man go down? Before I can call myself a man. And, I never really saw the show, so I'm not going to really comment. But a bit of a North American reference here. There's going to be a few more in this podcast as well. I've got another one locked in the chamber here for you all. Also chambers because guns in North America. Anyway, Lee's, why would you have to have the Freeze company? The free centre backs.
Yeah.
Why is this third wheel? It's not an adorable American sitcom, Three's Company. It's just disastrous. Why are we bringing Lees into the picture so much? He's not that good that we have to think.
I know.
This is the thing. It's like we're looking at it from an attacking perspective. Like, because with attackers, it's kind of sometimes a bit like, we don't really know how it works, but we've got to get this guy in. This guy's got to kind of turn up to the party.
I know.
He's the guy who comes to the party who says the incredibly racist, nasty thing. He upsets one of your friends and makes them cry, but we're like, but he's going to bring the beer. He's going to bring the. He's got
the fake ID. He's got the brother that goes to the shop.
Exactly. I'm like, we don't need to include him in the picture.
No.
He can sit on the bench. It's fine. He can sit on the bench for a while. Fine. He can sit on his hands where, he's not going to cause any problems.
I like the idea that he's got to sit on his hands because, he'll get up to something untoward.
I just also imagine him as well, like we're in a family car, another American reference. We're in there's a big 6-seater, and Tom Lees is giving Joe Wildsmith a nuggie in the back, and then you just kind of turn around and be like, stop making his life a misery. Thomas James Lees. I've told you once. I've told you 1,000 times. But if he's in the back with Wildsmith, he's not causing any problems. Exactly. Really.
Please.
As long as we don't have to swerve the car off the road. As long as we don't have to turn the car back and head back on the family vacation, because he's being a nightmare.
Yeah, but you're right.
It's fine. We just don't.
It's not like we're in a position, like the England midfield thing under Sven-Göran Eriksson. Gerrard and Lampard are so good that even though they don't work, you've got to keep them both playing. It's not like that. It's like if it was Gerrard and Lampard, but then you keep putting Joe Cole in there or something. It's just not good enough. It doesn't work.
And I'm going to say something.
Gary Monk, you're driving me insane.
As I'm a very transatlantic man, I'm going to decree my North American pals and come join you back in UKKR, Rich, with this one. It's peanut butter and jelly. They don't go together. They do not go together.
Stop trying.
They might both be good. Stop making it a thing. Stop making it a thing. It's not a thing. Leave Lees out. Leave Lees out. Leave Lees out.
Twist the tip. Leave the tip.
Oh, just get him. Just get him on the bench.
Right. Let's.
Do you remember the Nigerian player Danny Uchechi who we signed?
Oh yes, yeah.
Or as I used to call him, Danny Ubenchy. I think he needs a bit of Lees needs a bit of Ubenchy love, really.
He does. So let's move over to either his partner in crime or one of his partners in crime, depending on whether you think it was a 3 or a 2 at the back. Julien avec le Big Willie.
Oh, Julesy.
Jules.
I don't know if I'm being generous here. I went for a 6.5.
I think
he was one of the better defenders. He was one of the better starting first 11 defenders.
He benefits from that Joey Pelipesi bounce of not actively being involved in any of the bad things.
Yeah.
And therefore comes out smelling of roses by comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's sort of a bit questionable overall, wasn't he? Really?
Yeah. Anyway. Let's, He's the least of the worries today, I think. He was the best of the 3 centre-backs that played football today for Sheffield Wednesday. So then it's Liam Palmer.
I've gone for a 6.5 as well. I do want to say, Liam, if you are listening, I really did not like that moment in the second half when you decided to airshot the ball when it was going out of play. Don't get cocky, Liam.
And all the Birmingham fans went, "Whee!" penalty, and then they're like, oh, it's actually a goal kick. It reminded me of the Darren Pearce knees back to the goalkeeper. I
don't know. I love the knee. I did love the. He did a few shins back to the goalkeeper, didn't he? Cersei.
Oh,
Cersei.
I'm going to take this moment on completing the defence to circle back and talk about the talky bit in the Another Brick in the Wall Part 2. So at the end of that song, there's a Scottish man that tells the children's choir that they're wrong and they need to do it again. And then he says, if you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding. How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat? So that's what your reference that I cannot even remember now reminded me of. But for people who, that will have annoyed, we've closed that loop.
Close that loop, yeah.
We've met Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and it's all good.
He's got a weird CGI Bruce Willis face.
Yeah, Bruce Willis. Jacob Murphy was...
So Palmer also want to say maybe... I actually thought he was one of the best. He was the best starting 11 defender.
Fair enough.
Which is maybe damning with freight place. I also, with my, texting stuff out and my Evernote note here, I actually put something like dead enders instead of defenders, which I also think is a very good term for.
The old zombie remake of EastEnders.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to do Fox now, seeing as he played half the game?
I have put him in there, yeah, actually. So I gave him a 7. Welcome back, Fox Morgan.
Oh, I'm so pleased to have Captain Fox Morgan back, which is so strange. We wouldn't have said that at the start of the season, but weirdly, he's now an integral part.
There's a lot of us going back on our words here, Rich. There's a lot of us eating our word pie because we said best right back at the club, Dominic Iorfa.
I know.
He's not a centre back, and now I don't want to go back to that. I don't want to see him anywhere at right back.
He's forgotten how to play at right back. It's weird.
Yes, that's true. Actually, also there is something.
As much as he's good at centre back, he's terrible at right back now.
It's because we've been doing the whole Clockwork Orange to make him a centre back.
Yeah.
We've been showing him lots of footage of decent centre backs. He's just it's pushed out the knowledge of how to be a right back from his head.
Yes, exactly.
That's how it works, right? You learn something and something else gets pushed out the other ear.
Yeah. The Homer Simpson thing. So to start on the midfield, Jacob Murphy was playing right wing today.
What a finish that was! Can we just talk about what a finish that was
for the first
and a constant threat? The hilarious that I've written my notes and the bit I had later was I completely forgot he scored no goal.
Yeah.
But still, I think he's such quality that even when he's patchy, I still think we'll look back at the end of the season and think he was a pretty good signing overall.
He's got, today particularly, he had just looked so much quicker, such a better athlete than Pedersen, their left back. Pedersen is one of these kind of centre-backs turned full-back, I think. So he's massive, but pretty immobile generally. And Murphy just... any time he got a run at him, was able to knock the ball past him and make something happen. There just seemed to be...
Had him on toast.
He had him on toast.
Or one of his cream crackers.
Yeah. I thought he had a great game all around today. It's a real shame with the own goal. What a way to start things. But then shows probably the strength of character that he was able to pick things up. The miss was real bad. Maybe
this is tough because I
give up the bad.
And then I said for that and his set pieces, he would have, if it wasn't for the miss and I think his set pieces, I think even still with the own goal, which I kind of forgot about, I still think it's a man of the match performance, but I think he's lost it because of... Yeah,
I agree.
But I've still gone with an 8 for him.
Wow.
Do you think that's still fair, or do you...
I think I'd go 7.5 because I think he obviously scored the OG. He missed the brilliant... obviously he had to be there to make that chance, and his pace made that chance. But it was a ridiculously tame effort, really, really disappointing effort. He was also involved defensively in another bad bit of defending where Sunjic or whatever he's called in the first half had a real good chance, and that was off the back of Murphy he was there to defend but not actively doing any defending, which was the problem with the own goal as well. He's a presence, but it's like he's stood completely still, just to be a number, and it causes more bother than it actually helps us. I don't really know that he needs to be back there, to be honest, because it causes headaches. So I can see the reasoning behind your score, but I would be tempted to go a little bit lower just because for the whole of the piece. But I did like a lot about him today, and I think
I guess it's the interesting thing is that we talk about. I think it was talked about in the commentary about how great he looks when he cuts in.
Yes,
because he's just got such a good shot on him, and it's kind of weird because it kind of goes against, I think, the mentality of what we think about wingers. Is that they've got to beat the man and put a cross in.
Harris is so bad when he cuts in. It's so funny, so kind of like juxtaposed in that way. Okay, Kieran Lee.
I've gone for an 8 for Kieran Lee. I said we've had some bright moments with him in the team this season. I think this was the best we've seen from him this season. I think this was the best Kieran Lee. Here's a Canadian North American term for you, a beta. So a beta is an older high mileage car that's dirt cheap. It still runs efficiently. I think that's it. I think that's just the joy of driving around a Kieran Lee on the pitch. He won a penalty and he had a hand in all 3 goals. Really, I mean, he had the assist for the first. He won a penalty, and then it was a lovely takedown to feed in Nando, who slipped in your boy Jacob Murphy.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. No, very.
So he gets my Man of the Match award.
Ooh. No, he was really good today. I do think, by and large, a bit like Bannon, we sort of need to be a 3 to justify his presence, because I think a lot of what he does is, to use a kind of recipe sort of thing, I think Kieran Lee is like an extra flavour. You know, they talk about umami being like the 5th spice kind of thing. You know,
yeah.
But I think this is what Carlos was getting to when he talked about honey in the soup. You know, it's that extra thing that pulls things together. But we need salt and pepper to be there as the base. Otherwise, it all just tastes weird. So I think... I will say... Right, Kieran Lee is a lovely addition to that.
But mix. I do want to say, with the salt and pepper, I mean, what a man that our money can't get. And he does make us push it forward, doesn't he?
He makes us push it forward real good.
Thank you. I see your reference and I raise your reference. Thank you, Rich.
Nice. Well, yeah, I think I feel comfortable with that. An 8 for Kieran Lee. And then Wee Baz, Barry Bannon.
Wee Baz, who I did all my play ratings. And I thought, yep, I've done them all. And hilariously, Wee Barry Bannon is one of 2 players who I've completely forgotten to give a rating to in my notes. I'm going to give him a 7.5, thanks to, he was pretty good. Oh, what a great goal. I've forgotten about that. What a brilliant goal that was. I mean, it felt like, the two...
And out of nowhere as well.
Goals. Out of nowhere, yeah. He made that and really stuck it up the Birmingham fans.
There's assists and there's assists, isn't there? And he had a lot to do when he picked up that ball and did it with aplomb. Yeah, really nice. Okay, and then Calvin Kadeem Harris on the left wing.
Who is the second of the 2 players that I forgot to give a rating to.
Oh.
What am I going to give Kadeem Calvin Harris? This was some of the better Calvin Harris that we've seen. It's not as good as his first album stuff, but, it's better than some of his really terrible dance, chart bothering nonsense that we've kind of been alluded to just recently, the past few months.
Fair enough.
I'm still not afraid to have feels of Kadeem Harris. But I wish he would bounce back to what he had before. So he's still pretty good. 6.5, 7, 6.5. I think sometimes
6.5. I think there was loads of endeavour, loads of hard work. I don't think he produced very much tangible.
Yeah. Today. Well, it's just, to counter and look back at that, I was going against the mentality of thinking, I don't think we need, I don't think we need to put Lees on the pitch from a defensive pitch to say, well, we must have him because he brings X quality to the team. But to kind of inverse that and look in an attacking sense, I would say, sometimes I think I still think we almost need to think about having Harris on the pitch because of potentially what he can do and also because of his pace. I still think he gives us options, and I think it's still, we'd rather give the opposition defenders kittens than not giving them kittens,
For me, I would like us to, my sort of lineup would always be at this point, current form, would be Murphy always on the right wing, and then either Harris or Reach playing on the left. But when he puts in efforts like today, I'd have Harris over Reach because I like that endeavour. He never sort of backs down. He never goes hiding. Whereas, Reach can coast at times. I don't think Harris ever coasts. He's always working really, really hard. And for a couple of different bounces of the ball and things like that today, there was one point where he was caught offside, and I thought that looked really questionable in the first half, and that would have been him away, possibly through on goal. So, yeah, I there's just so much to like about Kadeem Harris, and today was full of those things to like about Kadeem Harris.
Yeah, I thought it was funny you've mentioned everyone's favourite, kind of forgotten left winger in Adam Reach, much like Jeremy Corbyn, I guess. I guess he's much like our Jeremy Corbyn.
Or Elizabeth Warren, to stick with American politics.
Elizabeth Warren, yes. Are those people still a thing? I imagine they still exist and they're alive, but you just kind of... What happens to politicians when they get ousted from their seats? We had a local politician, this guy called Kent Hare, he was a liberal kind of local politician, and he was shot when he was 17. He was going to be basically like a good athlete. So he's basically been in a wheelchair since then. And
what a great athlete's name. The world was robbed. Kent Hare.
No, and so anyway,
high school quarterback. Oh, please.
he got ousted from his local politician thing, and I'm like, what do you do now? Where are you going?
Maybe get involved in the background, or I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know.
They probably get very healthy. There's very healthy pensions for folks who are in public office. So.
Oh, that's good. I was worried about them for a second.
Yeah.
He's probably my level. Anyway, so
a lot of them go and work for big corporations that they gave favourable decisions to in their lifetime in politics.
That's annoyingly how it works. Yeah. Anyway, so to bring it back to Wednesday, I wonder about Adam Reach. Adam Reach, I think, has apparently been injured, but I mean, it's I don't know. Yeah, I miss Richinho, Richie with a peachy.
He would have been a great person to bring on late in this game.
I know we've missed the Rich Miller baller move.
The baller
move substitution.
Just one thing that's worth mentioning at this point. Sorry, it slipped my mind. The chance that Murphy had, that one-on-one chance, is... So there's different schools of thought, and I'm not 100% on one side or the other. But when people moan about us having everyone back at set pieces,
yep.
When you have real, sort of awe-inspiring pace like Jacob Murphy, like Kadeem Harris, that's why you pull everyone back, is because they then commit too many men forward. And if you get the proper distribution of the ball afterwards, which is where we normally fall down in this, you can then break with pace that cannot be caught. If Harris or Murphy is stood on the halfway line, they'll put a pacey player with him, they'll put another defender, and they may put another player there. So you never get the chance unless the ball is even better than the one. But essentially just a ball poked over the top gives you a huge opportunity if you've got that pace breaking from your own box, because nobody can keep up with them. So just... it doesn't pay off that often. I think mainly that's because of our lack of quality getting the ball out from the back. But today was that showing of that's why they all come back, for anybody who sits there and kind of goes, oh, everyone's back, we should have 3 people, and then they'd have to... This is why when you've got real pace, you don't need to push 3 people up. You want them overcommitted in your half, because that's when you spring the trap on them. And it very, very nearly worked. Textbook today. Anyway, sorry, that's my little soapbox moment, and I will step down and we can talk about Fernando Forestieri.
The Nandalorian.
DeLorean.
Coming to Disney Plus soon. Goal and assist, 7.5. Very, very good today. More of this, please. More of this Fernando Forestieri I've been hearing about.
See, for me, I would have Fernando at an 8. And
wow.
He's my man.
Wow.
I
wouldn't have
taken him off either.
I would have taken,
unless it was, I don't think he should.
Unless it was like a
Yes, yeah. But I thought he was a huge part of us earning a place to play in this game today, and just tirelessly worked to make spaces and harry defenders. I was really. Sorry, go on.
You know what would have been good? Bit of Trumpy bum.
Trumpy bum, yeah.
Bum. We had a lot of great options from the bench, which I'm upset that we had to make that defensive substitution, and then I'm upset that we had to bring pick one of Wickham Fletcher.
Yeah. Just to translate for people, Trumpy bum is Josh Windass, or Windy Ass, as he's been called at times. I think I understand why Fletcher was the change, but it was a bad change. It was as bad as taking Iorfa off, I think, in retrospect, because it just was not what we needed. We didn't need a second big man. Wickham was doing the big man thing fine. We'd had the nice impact of that. What we needed was legs to carry us forward and be another threat on the break.
Mm-hmm.
Which
is what we were doing all game, and then it's like It's almost like we basically said, "Oh, no more of that. We're done with that." We tried it. It's like no, it was really good.
It's the reason we're winning, but we'll stop doing it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that leaves us with Wickham.
I'll go for a 7 for Wickham. Oh. Get to that part of the podcast where I'm getting tired. Sorry. Wickham, go for a 7. 7 for Connor Wickham.
It was a pleasing cameo. I thought he looked tired come the end, which really he shouldn't be after a half of football. But I thought his movement looked good. He did the target man thing really well. It paid dividends making the change. And he was so unlucky. That would have been one of the goal of the season contenders if he'd scored that volley, because he pulled that out of nowhere, really. It was a stunning effort, and it was a great save that was needed to stop him having that goal. But I think once he gets his first goal, we're gonna. What was?
Sorry, I'm just thinking about him pulling it out.
Oh, no, I'm happy to go along with 7. And then Fletcher was the last sub.
6. Yeah. Didn't do much. Good to see him back, but didn't do much.
I don't remember him getting his yellow card.
I don't remember him doing anything.
74th minute. He came on in the second minute, and 74th minute got a yellow card. So that must have been all he did.
I did like his hair. He's kind of looking. He's looking a bit like an unattended to Chia Pet right now.
It's Ted Danson in Loch Ness, if you ever saw that film. There's a lot of business going on to distract from the fact that the roof is caving in still. But there's a lot of business roundabout to kind of draw the eye away from that.
Oh, Ted Danson in Loch Ness.
It's a classic.
I'll take your word for it.
It is not classic.
It is not classic?
Was that sorry?
It is not classic?
It is not. No, it's not.
I'm so disappointed.
It's a bit maudlin.
Final kind of remarks. I want to kind of draw back to a couple of things. Did you see at the end that I imagine we probably had the same footage, even though it's just different commentary, possibly. Yeah, possible. We don't know.
Yeah.
I just want to say, did you see Monk and Clotet had a very long conversation afterwards?
I didn't see that. No, it finished very.
They were chatting for about two minutes on the sideline, and they apparently ended up with a handshake.
Oh,
I wish the camera would have stayed on it for longer. Because it kind of kept flitting back between that and players on the pitch, doing the whole tired handshakes, all that type of stuff. So I would have loved to have known what they talked about, but they really seem to Monk seemed to kind of look very, very pointedly, slightly kind of angry.
Right.
From what I kind of took from them. I could be completely wrong. It could be pure conjecture, but it was. I really would love to know, like we'd love to know in what's going on in the dressing room and be a fly on many walls in life. That would be something I'd love to have known what the conversation with the chat was about. It seemed very intent between the two, but apparently ended with a handshake. So maybe that's something turning things around. And just to go back to beef squashed, and to go back to who scored, I want to just drag who scored through the mud now. Their match summary. Birmingham's strength stole the ball from the opposition, was strong at finishing. Weaknesses. Team has no significant weaknesses. Get out of here. They were crap defending. Their keeper had goal pie all over his face, to quote Alan Partridge. Rubbish.
Golf party all over his...
Rubbish. Which he enjoyed because he's greasy and chubby. Which, as we know on Different Gravy, Rich and I are not statues of men, but we're still going to body shame footballers on this podcast. Yeah. We're just going to completely throw rocks in our glass house, and it's all going to be fine.
I must say, parts of my physique have been likened to the statue of David, but it's the part that you would really rather not be likened to. The statue of David.
Oh.
Right. Well, we should probably call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Charlton up next. You got any strong feelings there?
It'll be a game of football, Rich.
Oh, almost certainly.
Right, you are, Ken. We'll be at home. We'll be at home to Charlton on a midweek. It's really not going to be an advert for the Championship. That's my prediction. I predict pain. I think that's what I'm going to say.
Oh, dear.
I'm not feeling too optimistic about it. How are you, Rich? How are you feeling about it?
A frabjous day. Kalu Calais. I'm just obsessed with the Jabberwock now. Come to my arms, my beamish boy. Who even knows? I don't know what this. We talked a couple of weeks ago. We sort of mentioned in passing the State of the Union, and I did my kind of 5.5 out of 10 Donald Trump impression. But I have no idea what this Wednesday team is capable of, what they're going to do from one game to another, who Gary Monk is going to pick. Charlton, I expect... Do you know what I expect? Something weird, because that's been every game of late. Whether that's something weird that somehow ends up in us winning, I couldn't even hazard a guess, because I just don't know. I just don't know what's coming next from this team and this manager. It's baffling again and again. And today was so strange. First half, you would, but ahead of time, playing a 5 at the back with Pelupessy nominally at right wing back would be the last thing I would come up with on this combination of players. So, let's see what Tuesday brings. I expect to be surprised at 6:45 about what the lineup is, and then hopefully I'm pleasantly surprised come 90 minutes later at what the final result is, because I was surprised at how good today was in terms of our overall performance, particularly second half. We really looked a decent team against a team in good form, and we were really unlucky not to win.
Mm-hmm.
So if more of the second half would be tremendous, and I doubt many teams could cope with us playing as well as we did in the second half. But if we turn up and play like we did in the first 10 minutes, every team in the league can score against us. So who knows? Who even knows? Oh, on that note, I'm going to go and mimsy through the Borough Groves, and I'll let you gyre and gimble through your week, Luke, and wish you a good day.
Have a good one, Rich.
Cheerio.
See ya.